Hello everyone. Our websites for some of our programs I know are a little tricky to navigate and to get into, so I wanted to take a moment to kind of show you how to do that, how to get in, log in, see some of the things that we have available as far as the resources and things go for the students to use from home as well as for parents to use from home. So you can start out by going to tigerwires.com and just go to the main TigerWires page. From there, you're going to click where it says select a school. Most of you I know already know how to do this, but you're going to click on foot of 10. You can click on our school, and that will bring up our web links page. And this is how the students are most familiar to get to these resources as well. This is what automatically comes up on their screen when they sign into a Chromebook. And there's lots of little icons there. The Think Central icon for the math series and the ELA series is right over there on the right. And then now that you are in, you're going to log in with your students' login information. When the students log in, they need to have their 3 initials, the last 3 digits of their ID number, and then the ending at hasdtigers.com, just like an email address. And that's the part that they tend to have the most trouble with from home because they don't have to type that in when they log in from school. It's done automatically. And then their password is FOT and their ID number. And then once you're in, there's a lot of different areas to go to. You have the things to do section, which has any assignments that they've been actively given. My scores would have any assignments that they had completed and would show the scores. And then by clicking on one of these, you could see the specific questions that were missed and maybe find where some of those errors were made. And then probably the most valuable thing here would be this My Library section, because this is where you're going to find all the extra resources, all the things that you can get onto, the things that we use in school. Obviously, math has changed a lot since we were in school ourselves. So we have the student edition ebook. This would be useful, for example, if you wanted to see what was in the book, or if a student forgot their book and had homework assigned from in the book, they could log on here. This is hard to print. I will show you how to print it a little easier here in a few minutes, but at least on here they could log in, see the questions. You could get a separate sheet of paper and answer them there, and I think most parents or most teachers would be fine with that. So that's useful. To change pages easily, you can just go up here to this top section, and it doesn't show up all the time, but when you click there, it brings up this go to page box, and you can type in any page number, and it'll jump you right there. And going back here, another probably the most valuable resource, I think, at least for parents, is this interactive student edition. Because I know one of the big problems is not understanding or not knowing how things were taught so that you can help your child understand the concepts that we're going over, since things are done a little differently sometimes. So this brings up a whole series of videos. There's one for every lesson. Personally, I know this is how I introduce a concept in my classroom. So you can go in here, you can click on a lesson, and we'll just go with rounding numbers since that's nice and basic. And it brings up this little video. It brings up the essential question for the day to kind of show the students what our main focus is going to be, sort of get them thinking. If you click start, it goes into this introductory video with this little character. Depending on the students, sometimes they're into this guy, sometimes they're not. So a lot of times I'll skip over this section. I'll show you how to do that here. So clicking on this blue dot would just take you to the next section. And what I really like here is they're going to introduce a problem, and we're going to walk through it slowly. And this is where I'll interject my own things. But from home, you could at least watch through this, see how the book is presenting it, and see kind of a general idea of how your students were shown how to work out some of these problems. Usually, depending on the concept, there might be 2 or 3 different problems, 2 or 3 different ways of solving a problem. So they'll show different strategies. Basically, one of the main ideas behind this whole Common Core math transition is to make students better problem solvers, to teach them that there is more than one way to do things. And that's what frustrates us sometimes as parents, is that we were taught one way to do it, and we learned that way, and we can kind of spit that way back out pretty easily. But this is hopefully, in the long run, going to make students better problem solvers, because they can look at a problem, find the best way to attack it, and solve whatever problems are presented, whether it's a math problem or any other problem in life. So this is just showing then how we would go through the rounding steps here. And they will be talking you through this, obviously, since I'm talking over it. I didn't want to have too many things going on at once. So I think you can kind of see the basic idea of what they're doing here and how they're going through things. Now, the next place I want to go to is this orange dot, and that will take us into the personal math trainer section, it's called. This is what a lot of times I know I use to assign homework through the personal math trainer. Students would access that a little differently. They're not going to come into this section because then I can't see their work. But if they go through that things to do section, that's how I can see what they've done. But in this personal math trainer section, there's a few more independent practice problems. And there's also some pretty cool tools here. And these are all available, or most of them are available for the problems they'll do for homework. There's a section here where they can view an example. And if they're really stuck on what to do with something or what a question is asking for, clicking that View Example button is going to pop that right up, kind of walk them through a problem, and then they'll be able to click Try Another and do a problem like it on their own. So if they're stuck on what to do or what a problem's asking for, that's a really valuable tool. And a lot of times kids don't want to slow down and take the time to do that, but it's like having someone there to explain things when we're not at school, when I'm not there to kind of help them through. There's a step-by-step button if they're still stuck that'll kind of walk them through one piece at a time. So it'll break things down a little further. So I would just go through and answer that step, check it that way, and then do the second step. So if it was just kind of overwhelming or too much there at once, that step-by-step is a handy little resource. And then finally we have this Math on the Spot video section, and that's one problem per lesson. So you'll click on that Math on the Spot video link, and it will bring up a little video, and it's going to show you, again, how to solve a problem. Usually these are kind of some of our more complex problems that they take the time to put these videos together for. So a lot of times we'll watch these in class, but again, if a student's answering a question like this and that link shows up, definitely a great idea to click it if they're stuck, because it'll walk them through how to solve a similar problem. Sometimes it ends up even being the same problem, but usually the numbers are changed just a bit. The other thing that we have here is this textbook link, and this is how you could print the pages if you needed to for some reason. So it brings up a PDF of the book page, and it brings up the entire lesson or the entire section here for that lesson. So this is our lesson 4 pages. And you could just go up, it brings it up as a PDF, so just print it the way you would any PDF just by clicking on that little printer icon at the top. Or Control P also works from here. So like I said, I think that Interactive Student Edition is a great resource. It's a great way, sometimes even just listening to something in the classroom with 27 other kids around, it might be a little noisy. The person next to you might be doing something that has you distracted. So sometimes just rewatching that in a quiet place, if a concept is challenging or a concept is giving you trouble, that can really help. There's another place to access those Math on the Spot videos. You can also get them right here from this page with all the resources. I know the resource page is a little clunky. They've promised us that that's on the list of things. They want to clean that up a little bit and have sort of a new interface. So hopefully we'll see that sometime soon. But again, here's the Math on the Spot videos. The kids love Professor Berger. He's kind of like a Bill Nye kind of character for math, and he does a great job explaining. But then there's also a couple other math teachers here as well that kind of walk the kids through. So again, lots of resources here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but those are some of the ones that I think are the most valuable. Now, moving to reading, right under here where it says My Library, you can click to switch subjects from math to reading. Reading assignments also might show up under Things to Do. The scores for reading assignments are going to show up under My Scores as well. But you can go right in here. And similarly, you're going to find a lot of those reading resources. The Reader's Notebook is something that the students use quite a bit in class. It's where they're going to find their spelling practice, grammar practice, occasionally some comprehension. This is something where pages could be assigned for homework. And again, if your student forgets their book, there's a way you can get it pretty easily. You can click over here where it says More, and it will bring up an option to print these pages. And again, just like in the math, if you go up to this top bar and click, it'll bring up a spot where you can type Go to Page. And so like I mentioned, there's some comprehension pages, there's some word strategies, prefixes, suffixes, the spelling pages are in here. So we've got all these different types of things. There are a lot of different resources for reading for our new language arts series. So we've got a lot of things, and sometimes it can be a challenge to know which book to look in to find which resource. We're definitely aware of that, and we're helping to sort of work our students through that. But back here to the resource page again. And the nice thing here with language arts is they have one sort of spot where you can go for a lot of these things, including that reader's notebook. And there's a page here called Student Resources, right over here on the left. And if you click on that Student Resources link, it's going to bring up a whole bunch of different things. There's an audio hub where you can listen to the stories. There's another way to do that as well that I'll show you in a little bit. There's the reader's notebook again, so you can access that way. Students may be working on leveled readers. Again, they may be assigned for homework. They may be done in class, but if you want to see some of the things your students are reading, you can click on there and explore the leveled readers, and it will bring up all the different levels. You would click on whichever level you are interested in. We have below, on level, and above level. And from there, you could pull up the whole list of the leveled readers. And clicking on one of these will bring that up. And you could work through and read that digitally with your child. Now, a lot of these pages have a sort of speaker icon on them. And clicking on that speaker icon makes the story read aloud. You can also zoom in. So if the text seems a little small to somebody, you would be able to click to zoom in. And then when you use that audio icon, one thing that's really nice, especially for a struggling reader, is that it highlights everything. It highlights the text or the sentence that's being read, really kind of helps the student with following along. And then to change pages, you would just use those little arrows, those grayed out sort of arrows on the left and the right. So that's the leveled reader resources, something that we use quite a bit. Another great resource here is the vocabulary and context cards. Learning new vocabulary is definitely one of the skills we're working on in language arts class and in reading in particular. So each story is introduced with new words, new vocabulary, and these cards are fantastic. They give the student an example sentence with the word. They also give the student some things to think about or some activities to kind of relate it to themselves. So some really good things here. If your student's having trouble with vocabulary, it might be a good idea to maybe sit with them and go through these words. And then last of all, and I'm not sure why it's not listed in the student resources for some reason, but lastly, I'd like to take you to the actual reading book. So this is the big reading book that the students use in class. This is where our main stories are. So again, you can click from here to enter the book. And it's going to bring up exactly every page from their hardback book. That is our biggest and heaviest book, at least in 4th grade. So if you have reliable internet service at home, your child really doesn't, and if your child's comfortable with reading things digitally, reading things on a screen, you really wouldn't have to have your child bring their book home. I know not everybody's comfortable reading on screen. Sometimes it is better to have an actual book and turn the pages and things like that. But this would be an option to lighten the backpack load a bit because it's there word for word. The audio link is over here again, so you could click that audio link. You can zoom just like you could with the leveled reader. So, and it also highlights again while it's reading, just like the leveled reader did. So all of those sorts of things are there for the main text as well. So I hope that introduces you to some of these resources. Hopefully that helps you to find some of these resources as well. And As always, if you have any questions, please contact your child's teacher, and they can maybe guide you to the more specific things that they're doing individually in their classroom. But hopefully that gives you a good general overview. Thanks for watching.